What if I was to tell you that living in Michigan is not for everybody? I know it sounds crazy. It's like the craziest thing I've ever said on this channel, but it's true. Living in Michigan is not for everybody. So before you pack your bags and move here to Michigan, make sure you watch this video because I got 7 reasons why you might not want to move to Michigan after watching this. And these reasons actually come from people like you who I've had Zoom calls with over the years and just listening and understanding why some people are not moving to Michigan. And these reasons come up. And unfortunately, that's the reality. Some people just aren't meant to live in Michigan. So stick around because we're getting into the 7 reasons, so let's dive in. So kicking things off, one of the main reasons why people don't move to Michigan is for the weather, and specifically the winter months. Now, I've had so many Zoom calls with people who are moving to Michigan and they either grew up here or one of the spouses have lived in Michigan, and they said, hey, how cool would it be to move back to Michigan, be close to family? And they come visit here in like December, January, February, and they kind of remind themselves why they moved away in the first place. Now, that sometimes changes their mind, but sometimes people are just like really excited to get back into the winter months and they're looking forward to it. Maybe they've been in a state where, there is no snow. I remember my childhood growing up. I want my kids to have, what I had growing up, which is snow, snowmen, sledding, ice skating, snowmobiling, all the things that you would find in the winter months, are available here. But for most people who don't like any of that and don't find the cold temperatures enjoyable whatsoever, whether it's being outside in general or driving through it, Michigan's probably not the place for you. We have a saying here in Michigan, and it's an unspoken motto of the state, which is if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It can be sunny, rain, and snow all in the same day here in Michigan, and that's just Michigan weather for you. So if you do prefer predictability, Michigan might not be the place for you. Next up is the construction here in Michigan, and I'm not kidding when I say this. The construction in Michigan is absolutely terrible. It's one of the things I loathe more than the winter is the construction. You got to plan your route. You got to really look for detours, make sure you put ample time into your GPS to make sure you navigate around all of these things that are happening, from lane closures to actual road closures. Some of the exits might be closed. They're working on the off ramps and on ramps on the freeway. It's just a mess. It's a mess all the time. Michiganders joke that there's really only 2 seasons in Michigan. You got the winter and construction season. So once you see those orange barrels come out, that's the rest of the season. And they really start coming out after the snow starts melting. They're getting ready to work on the roads. And it's because the harsh winters here in Michigan, they really take a toll. The plows are going, it goes from really warm to really cold pretty quick. So for those of you who don't know, that's really not good for the concrete. That's not good for the earth that underneath the road. It happens to freeze and then thaw out, and it just, I don't want to get too scientific, but there's a lot of things that go into it, and the roads absolutely suck. Could they use better materials? Sure, but the reality is we have some pretty terrible roads here in Michigan, and they're working on them constantly. So if you are traveling, keep an eye out for lane closures, keep an eye out for road closures altogether. Make sure you look at your city or your township, subscribe to some of those to make sure you learn about where the construction's happening, because that's the worst thing in the world, is to wake up, go to work, and you're going to sit in traffic when you could have found an alternate route, from Waze or one of the apps that you can avoid traffic on. So make sure you download that Waze app and get around the town without all the traffic. All right, so this next one, I don't know what I actually hate worse, whether it's the construction, the winter, or the result of both of these things combined, which are the potholes here in Michigan. Now, if you've ever driven across the border from Ohio to Michigan, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like going from a smooth surface onto crossing over the Michigan border, and your car is like bump, bump, bump. You absolutely can notice the difference. Like, there's no comparison between it. But in all seriousness, potholes aren't just annoying, they can actually cost you a lot of money. On average, Michiganders pay anywhere from $500 to $600 a year on pothole damage to their vehicle. Now, that could be a flat tire, that could be a damaged rim, and if you look at the size of some of these potholes in the road, you're driving over those at like 60 to 80 miles an hour. So imagine what that's doing to your tire, or your rim. There's going to be some damage. Keep an eye out. If you see somebody driving in front of you that's kind of swerving, they're trying to avoid potholes. We're not just really bad drivers here in Michigan. We are on the defense because there is a lot of obstructions to get around, whether it's other bad drivers or the potholes here in Michigan. And hey, if we're meeting here for the first time, my name is Eric. I'm a local real estate agent here in Ann Arbor and Metro Detroit, and I've helped hundreds of people just like you that in your exact shoes make that move here to Michigan. You know, my wife and I, who are born and raised in Michigan, moved out to California for a year and then back to Michigan to a place neither one of us were from, and we had these exact questions. And I wish I had these type of videos when I was moving back to answer a lot of the same questions that I try to answer on this channel for you guys. So if you are moving here 1 month or 1 year from now, do not hesitate to reach out, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, and I'd be happy to help you make a smooth move here to Michigan. Next, Michigan might not be for you if you don't like this little insect called mosquitoes. Now, mosquitoes here in Michigan can get bad due to all the water that we have. And this is where mosquitoes thrive. They thrive in wetlands, dense forests, ponds, standing water, and of course, lakes, rivers, streams, right? Which pretty much covers the whole state of Michigan. Okay, so there's not really a place in Michigan where mosquitoes aren't going to be. In Metro Detroit, you can kind of get away from them, you know, in the city, you know, but they're still going to be around, you know. So you just got to plan, make sure you buy bug spray, make sure you plan accordingly. If you're outside in the evening, yes, they get bad. You know, my wife and I and the kids will be outside riding their bikes, doing their scooters, you know, just playing in the yard. And I can almost tell you exactly when it's time to go inside, when the mosquitoes start biting. I'm like, all right, I got bit 2 times, girls, pack it up, we're in, or get your bug spray on, because my girls are like, they get these mosquito bites and they have these massive bumps. Like my skin doesn't react that way, but if yours does, just make sure you're aware of this. Like, you can get bit by a mosquito and it could be like, I don't know if you can see that, like that high of a kind of a bump on your skin, and it itches, right? So buy some itch cream, buy, you know, bug balm. We always put it on the girls. Like, as soon as they get bit, you know, I know for certain, like, oh, that's gonna itch, so I'll put it on. So just plan accordingly. Mosquitoes, they are definitely here in Michigan, so be prepared for them, or for that matter, just don't move to Michigan if you don't like them. Next up, this one kind of cracks me up because I've heard from some people that, hey, Michigan's not for us because there's no ocean views in Michigan. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Like, we're not even near the ocean. And they're like, yeah, that's a no for me. I'm like, well, why'd you even reach out? Like, couldn't you look at a map and see that Michigan is not near an ocean? And they're like, well, you know, we kind of thought that with the lake views that it would be comparable and, you know, be on Lake Michigan or Lake Huron. And I'm like, okay, but you still know there's no ocean here, right? Here's the reality. There is no oceans in Michigan. It's a fact, right? We have 3,200 miles of coastline, but these are freshwater lakes. Okay, these are the Great Lakes. Now, a lot of inland lakes, a lot of things to do here in Michigan. So if you are somebody that likes those sandy beaches and those waves rolling in, Michigan's probably not the place to do it. But I will say those Great Lake views, you know, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, you know, Lake Michigan, they got some amazing views as well. All right, so I would definitely check those out. You know, even that rolling wave coming in, you still hear that. It's just not as big in Michigan. All right, so this next one is really preference, and it boils down to having a lot of small towns here in Michigan, which could be a good thing, or it could deter a lot of people. You know, we do have a good mix of Grand Rapids, Detroit, Ann Arbor as kind of more of these bigger cities that you can choose from and go to and live in the surrounding areas. But for the most part, Michigan is made up of a bunch of small towns. And so if you're somebody who's looking for, you know, a little bit slower pace of life, this could be the perfect fit for you. But if you're somebody that's looking for more of a fast paced, like, I want dining options, I want things to be open late, I want to be able to go out and do things all the time, like a New York lifestyle or a Chicago or LA, Michigan's probably not a good fit for you, you know. But if you're looking for a little bit slower pace, and, you know, the local hotspots might be the bowling alley or, you know, the VFW hall bar that's attached to it for the locals to go to, you know, Michigan's a good fit for you. You know, it's just small towns, you know, normal people, but a lot of great amenities. You know, some of those I've made videos on in the past. If you look at some of the small towns kind of surrounding the Metro Detroit area, you got places like Dexter, Saline, Brighton, Northville, Plymouth, And you can argue Northville and Plymouth are not necessarily small towns, but they do have that small town feel. And then you could head over to Milford, small town, and up to Rochester Hills. Big part of Metro Detroit, but the downtown's very quaint, right? And that's really what a lot of people look for. I want to live in a place that feels like we're kind of away from a big city, but we have a downtown area that has the local coffee shop, the local restaurants, the post office is there, so you get this slower pace of life, but access to a lot of the great amenities from a big city. And Metro Detroit kind of encompasses that. There's a lot of different options there. So the next one I want to talk about is the limited transportation here in Michigan. So if you're looking for a train or a subway to get you around, if you're not going to have a car, that's just not going to be an option here in Michigan. Now, you may look at Detroit and say, wow, they got the People Mover, they got the Q line. Those only go to certain parts of the city. Okay, so you can't really rely on that to get from, like the Metro Detroit area into Detroit. So you just really got to take a look at that. We don't have a mass public transportation system like some of the bigger cities like Chicago or New York. You do have a bus system, but even people who have to ride the bus say, if I didn't have to ride the bus, I wouldn't. Always late. It's not a good fit for somebody who's working that needs to be on time or has to plan their day around being on time to get somewhere. So when it comes to limited transportation, I get this a lot, for people who are trying to move here with no car. And it is doable in some places, I will say. If you are moving to Ann Arbor, for example, this one comes up a lot where we have people who are moving to go to the University of Michigan, or, they're going to be working at the University of Michigan or one of the many companies in Ann Arbor. And they ask, hey, can I get around Ann Arbor with no car? And the answer is yes. If you want to live close to the university and that's really your means of commute is from your house or your condo to the university, that is absolutely doable. Same with Detroit. Could you get around in Detroit with no transportation? Yes, you could, right? Grocery stores are down there, and with everything being delivered nowadays, you can get Whole Food deliveries, you can get Target deliveries, you can get Kroger deliveries. All of these grocery stores will deliver food to you, so you don't actually have to go to the grocery store. But if you're living near your office, you could be working, restaurants are close by, whether it's in Corktown, Midtown, Brush Park, or even downtown Detroit. That is possible, but once you start venturing out and maybe you want to go and visit some nearby cities, you're going to need a car. So living here on a limited basis, yes, you can get by without a car if you kind of like just going to and from, but if you need to get other places around the Metro Detroit area, you're going to need some transportation. All right, so those are the 7 reasons that I've come up with why you might not be moving to Michigan, and why a lot of other people I've had calls with have expressed their distaste for Michigan. But if you are somebody that is still making that move to Michigan and none of this scared you off, let me know in the comments below one of the reasons why you're moving to Michigan is. And if you're somebody from Michigan and you want to expand on anything I covered in this video, I welcome it in the comments. Please let me know. But if you are still moving and like I said, none of this scared you off, I want to be a great resource for you. So make sure you give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or better yet, schedule that Zoom call. We can meet face to face, go over any questions that you have, get a game plan together so you can make that move to Michigan here as smooth as possible. We got a lot of great content on this channel, so make sure you stick around for the next video that's playing here, and I will see you on the next one.